Everyone, welcome back to Crimson Dawn Tarot. Here for another message for you guys today. I know it's been a while, but I've just been busy. I did feel called to do a reading for you guys today. I didn't have anything planned or in mind message-wise, so I just drew some cards from my Earthbound Oracle deck. The cards that came out were Fear and Failure. So I don't know if this is going to be more of a intuitive message rather than a inspirational one, but I do want to make it clear that I'm not saying that this is what whoever's watching this is dealing with this. This just may be more of a message to be aware of these things. So with that being said, anytime people are worried about failing, there's always going to be a fear there. There's always going to be all kinds of thoughts racing through people's heads and all kinds of emotions that they're probably not privy to having. It kind of goes without saying, fear and failure kind of go hand in hand with each other. So it's pretty interesting that they came out together as they did. So for me, personally, my own experience, I've had a lot of experience with having to deal with worried about failing in life, worried about failing at a job, worried about failing just at anything. And I've had a lot of time and chances to work through these things and to get through fear. A lot of people don't want to have to experience fear. They don't want to have to experience failure, but it's just part of being down here, and it's part of a lot of people's soul missions to overcome these things. There's a book I have that I believe it's called the Tibetan Book of Dreaming. I'm actually going to grab it real quick. I'll be right back. All right. It's actually called the Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep. And the part that I actually reached to actually fits very well with this message. I'm going to read from it for you guys. It actually talks about positive and negative karma. And for karma for them isn't how most people see it, to where, oh, you do this and then you're going to get punished for doing something bad, or you're going to get rewarded for doing something good. So to start off, I'm going to start off with negative karma. If we react to a situation with negative emotion, the trace left in the mind will influence future experiences negatively. For example, if someone is angry with us and we react with anger, we are left with the seed, making it slightly more likely for anger to rise in us again. And it becomes more likely that we will encounter the secondary situation that allows our habitual anger to rise. This is easy to see if we have a great deal of anger in our lives, or if we know someone who does. Angry people continually encounter situations that seem to justify their anger, while people with less anger do not. The external situation may be similar, but the different karmic inclinations create different subjective worlds. If an emotion is expressed impulsively, it can generate strong results and reactions. Anger can lead to a fight or some kind of destruction. People can be harmed physically or emotionally. This is not true of just anger. If envy is strong, it can create great stress for the person who suffers it. It can alienate that person from others, and so on. It is not difficult to see how this leads to negative traces that influence the future negatively. If we suppress these emotions, there is still a negative trace. Suppression is a manifestation of aversion. We tighten inside ourselves, putting something behind the door and locking it, forcing part of our experience into the dark, where it awaits until the appropriate secondary cause calls it out. This may manifest in many ways. For example, if we suppress our jealousy of others, it may eventually manifest in emotional outburst or lead us to harshly judge others of whom we are secretly jealous. Even if we deny this jealousy to ourselves, mental judgment is also an action based on aversion that creates negative karmic seeds. So to pause for a second, and I'll show you this book. I love this book. This is a very good book. You can get it on Amazon. But before I talk about positive karma, you know, when I first pulled these cards, what popped in my head was my own experiences, like I said before, with fear and failure and how I've had to work through these things. I tried suppression, and I also tried to deny these things, to lock up fear, just to bundle up and not deal with it, but that really led to failure as well. The only thing that I truly feel has been successful for me with dealing fear is to just let it express itself. Nothing fights back harder than something you try to suppress. So in turn, what I learned is just to sit with my emotions. I don't have to hold on to them. And a lot of people don't realize this, but trying to fight them is holding on to them. Trying to brainwash yourself into believing positive things about your own situation that will block out fear is also holding on to it as well. I think when we're really truly able to see these emotions for what they are and to let them express themselves but detach afterwards is the true way to move through these things, and will keep us from experiencing these negative karmic seeds from replaying in our lives. So for positive karma, instead of reaching to situations blindly, we can take a moment to stop and communicate with ourselves. In that space, we can choose to generate the antidote to the negative emotion rather than act it out. If someone is angry with us and our own anger rises, the antidote is compassion. Inducing it may feel forced and authentic at first, but if we realize the person irritating us is being controlled by their own conditioning, we can feel compassion. Maybe even a connection to the person, and start to let go of our negative reactions. As we do, we begin to shape our future positively. This new response is still based on desire in this case, for virtue, peace, and spiritual growth, and produces a karmic trace, a positive one. We have planted a seed of compassion. The next time we encounter anger, we are a little more likely to respond with compassion, which is much more comfortable and spacious than narrowness of self-protective anger. In this way, the practice of virtue cumulatively retrains our response to the world we find ourselves. For instance, encountering less and less anger, both internally and externally. If we continue in this practice, we begin to see fewer people who seem to deserve our condemnation or anger, and more people grappling with karmic conditions. Compassion eventually arises spontaneously and without effort. Using the understanding of karma, we can retrain our minds to use all experience, even the most private and fleeting daydreams, to support spiritual practices. So that is very true. I don't think that goes against what I said, and actually, with the paragraph I'm about to read right under it, they actually talk about what I just mentioned. But once you're able to detach from these things and experience your fear, experience these negative emotions, and just let them go and let them be expressed, and then detach, you open the way to replace them with better emotions, with better actions like compassion, like faith, or whatever you need to be able to help you get through the situation. So, liberating emotions. The best response to negative emotion is to allow it to self-liberate by remaining in clear, non-reactive awareness, free of grasping and aversion. If we can do this, the emotion passes through us like a bird flying through space. No trace of its passage remains. The emotion arises and spontaneously dissolves in the clear space of awareness. In this case, the karmic seed is manifesting as emotion or thought or bodily sensation as an impulse toward particular behaviors, but because we do not react with grasping or aversion, no seed of future karma is generated. Every time jealousy, for example, is allowed to arise and dissolve into awareness without becoming caught by it or trying to repress it, the strength of the karmic tendency towards envy weakens. There is no new action to reinforce it. Liberating emotion is the way, in this way, cuts karma at its root, burning the karmic seeds before they have an opportunity to grow into trouble in our lives. You may ask why it's better to liberate emotion rather to generate positive karma. All karmic traces act to constrain us, to restrict us to particular identities. The goal of the path is complete liberation from all conditioning. This does not mean that once the liberated positive traits such as compassion are not present, they are, but we no longer are driven by karmic tendencies. We see our situation clearly and respond spontaneously and appropriately, rather than being pushed in one direction or pulled in another. Again, this is the Tibetan Yogas of Dream and Sleep. So, if you're dealing with a situation and it's a repeating pattern in your life, I really am going to recommend learning Buddhist and Tibetan philosophies about detachment. You don't have to try to go find a monastery and become a Buddhist monk, but you can pick up meditative practices of just letting your emotions arise and fall as they come and not being attached to them. So many times people want to say, why me, why me, why me? But yet anytime any little negative thing comes up, they jump on it like it's some plague to be blotted out, and they're not realizing they're grasping onto this. And on a side note, as a spiritual practitioner, I want to say, in a spiritual sense, if you want to see, for the lack of better words, just to make a point here, if you want to see spells as karmic seeds, a lot of spells can attach to people who aren't holding on to these negative things. Spells, magic, curses, hexes, jinxes, all this stuff needs things to latch onto to people. And if they can't find these things to latch onto, a lot of times those spells starve and they die off. So if you're going through issues with people putting curses and all kinds of stuff on you, one thing you can do is just not hold on to it. Just realize that these things are there, but do not feed them the emotions. Do not try to fight them, which doesn't mean don't protect yourself. It still means you should do your cleansing. You should still do all that, but not out of fear, not out of determination, but just because that's just what you do. That's just your routine. And that'll work a lot better, and that'll allow you to detach from these things, and it really will starve these things out. Okay, so let's see what else will come out. We have release. So it goes right back to what I was saying, you know. If you starve these things by detachment, you release these things. And if you look up a lot of spiritual ceremonies on release or spells to release things, you got to give these things up. You release them from yourself. So you detach from them. So it really seems the message today is detachment is releasing and not trying to fight these things, but instead just learn how to become a healthier person and raise your vibration. You know, this book, the Tibetan Yoga of Dreams, also talks about different realms that people can incarnate to. And they talk about the realms of hell, the hungry ghost realm, the realms of animal, the realms of men, the realms of the deva and the gods. And they say that we're all incarnated into these different realms here on earth, that some people are born into hell realms and born into the hungry ghost realms, while others are born into the higher the realms of the gods and of the devas and up to the celestial realms. And really, I think what it comes down to is all about your perception. You know, for the people incarnated into the hungry ghost realms, their lives are going to be full with things to give them fear, with failure, and they're always going to need more. They'll never be able to release because they won't feel they'll ever have enough. So instead, they grasp onto anything and everything they can, whether it be positive and or negative. And a lot of times, even if it is something positive, they turn it into something negative because that's the conscious mindset that they have. That lack becomes something to hold on to for them, and it feeds their perception of reality and ultimately even themselves. Because we don't really see reality as it is. We only see our own perception of it. So if you want to get to these higher realms of living, it really is. It's going to take a changing of your mindset and a detachment. Everyone thinks the path to victory is fighting, grasping, attacking, destroying. And all they're doing is just feeding into that system, feeding into that realm. You know, if you find yourself in a hell realm, which could just be being around toxic, nasty people, always facing failure, always in fear, never having enough money, can't pay your bills, you're always being cheated on, your friends are talking behind your back, or you have no friends, or there's just enemies all around you, I really suggest you take the time to learn the detachment. That if you're waiting for justice and all that stuff, you're doing yourself a disservice, because your justice will come to you by you releasing these things and moving on with your life. You can't get to the higher realms of love, beauty, gratitude, stability, and abundance by remaining in hell and hungry ghost realms waiting for justice to come to you. It just doesn't work that way. You'll be depleted and destroyed long before you get your justice when you're stuck in these kinds of mindsets and these ways of life. All right. Let's see what else. Self. So the card that came out is Self. For me personally, with this message, whenever I see the heart, it always reminds me, I don't hold me to this, I'm not super scientific or anything with this, but a while ago I've watched a few documentaries on this. They talk about that the heart actually has neurons on it, or in it, which means that the heart has the capacity to be like a brain almost. When you hear people talking about emotional intelligence, I always think that someone's heart has been activated. And what's interesting with this is what my mind was instantly drawn to is the hemisync, or having the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain sync up. They call that getting into the flow state. And a lot of creativity happens from this state. A lot of miracles and a lot of positive manifestations happen from hemisync, or for when your brains are in the same, or not, are in the same frequency, so to speak. You know, but that being said, I also believe you can do that with your heart as well. You can get into a flow state and become emotionally intelligent with your heart. And with the eye on here, that really speaks to me as you need to see from your heart's perspective to really get out of any negative situations you might be in. But remember that detachment and letting it arise is going to be very important. But so is cultivating these positive emotions. There's lots of meditations out there for cultivating compassion, cultivating love, cultivating faith, and positive experiences that I highly suggest if you're one of these people trying to get out of these negative lifestyles of pain and suffering, that you start working on your emotional intelligence. That's a very good thing you can do, mixed with detachment as well, and letting things just arise as they come and experiencing them and letting them go. You know, with that being said, though, this doesn't equate a free ticket out for some people who've been stuck in being negative and being evil, being wicked, nasty people. You've created negative karmic seeds that are playing out that you're going to have to play out. And most of the time, when people get to that level of wickedness, there really is no escape. You know, we think we can change the path we're on, which everyone can, but it depends on how much effort and how much time you have to put into it. None of us are really guaranteed tomorrow. You know, we don't know when we're going to leave this earth. So this isn't a way to not have to pay for the negative and evil things we're done. This isn't about that at all. What this is for people who've been wronged, who've been hurt, who've been taken advantage of, who are deep down inside really good people, but just can't see the chains that hold them down. Air. Okay. So for the air card to come out, the first thing I thought of is breathing exercises and breathing meditations and learning how to retrain yourself to do deep breathing and make sure your body is getting enough oxygen and airflow. Because a lot of times when people who are stuck in these fear mindsets and not able to release, their heart space is shut off and they're worried about failure. They'll get panic attacks. They have all kinds of health issues as well. And one very easy thing we can do to improve our health is getting enough oxygen into our bodies. Now, you can find on YouTube all kinds of meditations to help you fix your breathing, like deep belly breathing. And it goes, from the more advanced people, it goes into meditations for breathing to build in your chi or your energy and help clear out negative stagnated energies within yourself, which breathing exercises are very good to pair with meditation for detachment. Other than that, it also, for me, means go outside, take some time to be in nature. Nature has always been very, very healing and always will be. Maybe go take the time, find a field to lay down in, get a blanket, and look at the clouds and see if any images or anything arises to you that sticks out to you. And just use it as a sign. You know, for me, I don't know if you can see it, but it kind of looks like you got 1, 2, 3 people sitting in a cloud, sitting up in the clouds together. So maybe ask some friends to come with you and just make a day out of it. Okay, what else? Also, too, since this has a feather in it, if you find a feather, this is definitely going to be a message. So this message is for you. It's a sign. Excuse me. What I mean by that, it doesn't have to be an actual feather. It could be a charm of a feather. It could be a picture or a painting of a feather, or just the image of a feather itself. If you see that, this message is definitely for you. Interesting. Permanence. Permanence. Let's see here. Put it over here. You can take time, to write out your feelings or emotions. A lot of people will use a simple ritual of writing out how they feel and expressing all their emotions, positive or negative, and they'll write it all out what they can't say out loud, or they're afraid to say out loud, or afraid to say to other people, and they'll put all their energy, all their emotions and their feelings into that paper, and then they'll either put it in a bottle, throw it into the ocean, throw it into a lake or a river, or they'll burn it and release the ashes into the wind. So maybe if you want to go out and be in nature, take some time, write out how you're feeling, write out your fears, write out your insecurities, or write out what you're afraid of, write out what you want to release and what you want to happen, and just put as much energy as you can into writing all this stuff out, and then burn it and release it into the wind. Let the wind take it away for you, and just try to use that as a sympathetic magic almost. I mean, not almost, that would be sympathetic to help you release. Now I'm going to take this card on the top. It's called Reflection. So after you release it, just take your time to reflect. Reflect on yourself. Maybe take detachment to a next level and try to see yourself from an outside perspective, as if you were another person looking into your own life, and see if you would have any different thoughts or feelings, or if there's any tips or tricks that you would tell yourself as a person, outside person looking in. Wanted to shuffle, but these came out. Let's see what these are. So you got Soul, which is the sun, and then you got Terra. Interesting. So I really do feel a call to nature for whoever's watching this is really important for you guys to go out and maybe get deep inside nature. If you have forests where you can go and just go get away from everyone and everything and just find a river to sit next to on a bright, beautiful, sunny day, I highly recommend it. And there's a lot of people out there who believe you can take in the light of the sun and charge yourself up. And maybe you want to sit with your eyes closed, letting the sunlight cascade over you, and just try to visualize yourself taking in sunlight and visualize any darkness or anything negative as darkness being burnt away by the sun. But this definitely is speaking to me to get out into nature with the air card, with the tarot card, and with the soul or the sun card, and then with the reflect with the leaves as well. And even with the feather and the ink, and then you got the rabbit, you got the flower, you got the moth. So this is all about nature. Is there anything else? Is there anything else? Balance. So a lot of times when people are stuck in these negative mindsets, they're stuck with dealing with fear, pain, suffering, humiliation, and all of that, there's not a really balance in their life. It seems the only thing they really can experience are these negative things, but that's because it goes back to being attached to these things, these negative karmic seeds that have been planted from before. So really, take the time to try to balance yourself out with positive emotions. It may be hard when you're dealing with what you feel is your whole life crumbling down before you, but in retrospect, I think it's important to understand that once we have time put in between what these negative things we've experienced, it seems to always be that they weren't as big of a deal as they felt as when we were in those situations. The things that we thought we couldn't live without or we couldn't accept while we're in those situations seems almost ridiculous once we've had years put between us in those situations. I know for myself personally, I've become very good at detaching and telling myself in the moment when I experience these negative things that I may be feeling this right now, but that doesn't mean it's going to stay that way forever. And that really does help me to detach and let go. It helps me bring balance back into my life. You know? Alright. So this card came out a few draws ago, but I feel called to bring it out now. It's the Arcana. And for me, this message means you can use art, you can use magic to help you get over these things. And I'm not talking so much as trying to do spell work to get even with people, to attack people and try to destroy them, because that creates those negative seeds in your life. But what you can do is get into magical art of drawing, collecting flowers and grinding them up, using them as in your paint, in your art. Anything really to help you bring balance back into your life or bring positive energies back into your life, to me, would be seen as magical, or the arcane. Which it might not mean that to you, but that's fine. But for the sake of this message, I really feel this is calling people also to express themselves in positive ways through art, through ritual, through intent, through sympathetic magic, through just using their imagination. Okay, is there anything else? Anything else? Any other messages? Okay. Fire. So the first thing I noticed with fire is you have the crystal on top with the triangle pointing upwards towards it. For me, it reminds me of a red hematite quartz. So maybe that's a crystal that might help you with this, if you want to look into that. I'm not sure if that's man-made or not, to be honest with you, but I don't really think it matters. I feel what's important is your intent, and you're using your intention, almost having the crystal become a representation of something for you. So, but for the message with fire, for me, is about creativity. It's about what you feed the fire grows the fire, you know. And with back to failure, you can see the moth looks like it's on fire itself, that it's being burnt up. So I really feel that this message for the fire card is what you feed the fire is what grows it, and that's what will create those karmic seeds back into your life. Because to be honest with you, this crystal honestly looks like a seed to me. What else? Is there any other messages? Any other messages? Deceit. So deceit came out over on top of growth. We got to be careful. Like I mentioned earlier, we don't want to deceive ourselves when we're facing something negative and just trying to block it out to the point where we're brainwashing ourselves, trying to force ourselves to see something as positive when it's really not. You know, positivity and being with an emotionally intelligent mindset isn't about blatant denial. What it is about is acceptance of things that are and working to cultivate positive things back into your life. So you got to be careful and really take the time to see how you're deceiving yourself. There's nothing wrong with positive intention and positive manifestations and trying to use your positive emotions to overcome negative situations, but there is something wrong with blatantly just ignoring these negative things and only focusing on the positive. That's not a very realistic approach to life, and a lot of times that leads you in your own life open for failure and opportunity for other people to take advantages of you. For example, if you have a friend who may have some positive qualities about themselves but gossips behind you or your back, talks badly about you, or gets you into bad situations, it'd be very detrimental to yourself to deceive yourself saying that all those other things are okay because you're only focused on the positive aspect of them, which no one's perfect. I'm not saying this to block everyone out, but what I am saying is just really, really, really take the time to see where you may be deceiving yourself in your own situations. Is there any other messages? Gift. I think the greatest gift that we, as people who are trying to make our lives better and to deal with fear and failure and all these things, is the gift of compassion towards ourselves and the gift of detachment. Because really, when you detach from these things and just let them flow and don't try to block them out, because blocking out is still an attachment. You're still trying to fight it, and that'll still create those karmic seeds that come back in your life. Because the goal isn't to continue the karmic seeds, the goal is to let them fade away. So the message with the apple and the gift, you can see the seeds on there. Maybe you want to start a garden for yourself. Use positive intentions. Speak positive intentions over the seeds and plant the seeds. And have that be a symbolic representation of something in your life that'll help you cultivate positive emotions whenever you take care of the plant or just around it. Okay. Do a few more draws, and I think that should be it for this deck. So over the Arcana, we have Labor. And then we have Life. quick. This is bugging me. So I know a lot of people, when they look for oracle messages or for tarot videos, they're looking for psychic information. They want people to pick up on their situation specifically, and they want some aspect of the spiritual realm, of mystery, of the arcana in it. But I think it's really important to understand that the most simplest things are usually the most profound in our lives. That if you can do these simple things that I've mentioned in these videos, they can have a much more profound effect than any tarot video that's just telling you about your situation and picking up on it, which there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with those kinds of videos. But it comes to a point where we have to take action. We need to do things. And a lot of those videos don't really give us the tools that we need to be able to do that. You know, so for me, with the message for life and labor, I think there's a need or a call for, if you're watching this video, to take it back to the basics, to take it back to the very simple things in life. To take it back to working on yourself, to meditating, to journaling, to healing. If you need to go to therapy, get therapy. Changing your diet, eating healthier, getting exercise, going out in nature, going out and being around people, doing things that ground you and bring you back into reality. Because if you look, the seed, it needs water, it needs to be fed, it needs to be taken care of, and you can't do that if you're not using the tools that you have at your disposal to help yourself grow. But if you do these things and put in the labor, and you could see the honey that's inside the little hexagon capsules, you'll be able to cultivate sweetness back into your life and goodness back into your life. You know, the power really does lie within you to be able to take control of your life regardless of what other people are doing. It may take some time, and to be honest with you, there's no one time fixes all your situations. It's just that's deceit. That's deceiving yourself. This is going to take time, practice, and dedication to this, and of mastering of a skill. But to become a master, you got to do the labor. But that is going to take all of this being put in together, and I'd say a little bit of luck as well. Alright, I'm going to draw one more time, and then that'll be it for this deck. Any other messages? Any other messages? Illuminate. On a side note, I just want to say I really love the artwork of this deck. I've always been drawn to eyes. I'm an artist myself, and I love drawing eyes. I love incorporating them into my artwork in very abstract ways. So for this message for me, because I am an artist and I do like drawing with eyes, is to draw, as if you're an artist and you've been kind of feeling lackluster, to try to get yourself back into drawing. I know for a lot of artists, they have to have certain requirements set or met emotionally and or logically for them to be able to be creative, but it's not impossible to make healing artwork if you just try to put in the effort or take the time to try to do that, which is interesting because the card, when I drew it out, it crossed over the labor card. So if you want to give it back, if you're an artist who's been slacking on doing your artwork, I suggest to try to take the time to get back into it. But other than that, for those who aren't into art, illumination, they say the eye is the gateway to the soul. And with the candles being on top of the eye itself, this to me means that what I'm talking about is a path back to yourself, is a path back to your spiritual soul, to who you really are. Because we are not our emotions, that is very true, but they are aspects of ourselves that show us who we truly are. But for the eye to come out and be the gateway to the soul itself, I believe if you do, as I'm talking about, really put the effort into this, you will find who maybe you once were or who you were always meant to be. Alright. So, that's enough with that one. Let's see what else I feel drawn to. So, on a side note, I hope everyone's doing well. It's been pretty interesting last couple of weeks, at least for myself. It's been kind of hectic, but definitely has been worth the effort that I've been putting in trying to help myself get through these things. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I definitely practice what I preach with all this, else I wouldn't be saying it. It's very important for me in my own life to be able to cultivate these positive things. Because, you know, if you do have people that are trying to hurt you, trying to gang stalk you or whatever, nothing hurts them more or aggravates them more than seeing you in positive situations or being happy or being able to cultivate these very positive things. So to continue the theme with the animals, I'm drawing from my spirit animal deck. Is there any spirit messages? Any animals that want to come out and give us some messages? The hippopotamus. Exploration. If you have become bored with your life, you have the creative power to stir things up and revitalize everything. You can do this by starting new projects, setting new goals, and making spiritual connections. A lot of metaphysical stores around you will hold events that people can go to. And if that's too much for you, you can definitely find events online that are held, that are in the metaphysical sense or a spiritual sense, that can help you cultivate all this stuff and connect you with like-minded people. You know, I tend to try to steer people away from doing everything specifically online and never leaving your house, because I really feel that's a disservice to yourself. Now, that being said, there's just some people that can't do it, and that's definitely understandable. But if you can and you have the power to do so, I highly recommend going out, going to a meeting, going to a meetup, going find a new group of people, go into a metaphysical store, a crystal store, a pet store, or just anything really, and trying to experience new things. Frog. Transition. This is a powerful time of change. You're being called to connect with the world of emotions and feminine energies. You may also need to engage a process of cleansing, whether physical, emotional, spiritual, or energetic. That goes back to what I was talking about, writing down how you feel, you're burning it, releasing it, put it in a bottle, throw it in a river, throw it in the ocean, whatever, bury it, take it up into a mountain and bury it somewhere, or just take it into a forest and bury it under a bunch of dirt. Also, cleanliness is next to godliness, so if your house is a mess, this is definitely a sign to take time to cleanse your space, light some incense, use some essential oils, and really create a sacred space for yourself. Now, if that's not possible for you because you have issues, try to do the best you can. Light some incense. Any little thing will help you, and any little thing is important in our journey. I said this before, that there's no one thing you can do one time that will solve all your issues. But what it usually takes is a lot of small things done repeatedly over and over and over again that build up, that lead to great change and success. I'm gonna pull out my Rainbow Warrior Activation deck. This is one of the first Oracle decks I ever got, and it's one of my favorite just because of how beautiful the artwork is and how much color and beauty they put into this deck. So if you're looking for a way to kind of spruce up your home, adding color to it is a really good way to do that. You don't have to go all out and spend all kinds of money, but you can get different color candles, you can get different scented candles, even just drawing and hanging your artwork everywhere is a really good way to do that as well. But colors can be very healing as well, and a lot of people have used something called color therapy, which I'm not going to go into detail here, but that's something you might want to look into, is color therapy or even aromatherapy as well. I'm an Army vet. I served 5.5 years in the military, and I can speak from experience from when I first got out of the military. I'm not going to say I was low vibrational, but I was very rigid, and I had to do a lot of work on myself to bring back my true expression of who I am back into my life. And I did that through nature, through art, through expressing myself, through rituals, through ceremonies, through everything that I mentioned here, and especially through color and aromatherapy. All right. So number 15 is animal spirits. So revelation, support, ancient knowledge, ally, eternal love, and directness. Wait, that's not it. What the heck? Oh, I apologize. That's actually not the right one. You must needed this. I know what I did. I got confused by the page number on here. It's not the actual card number. So I'll read this just because I spoke it, and it actually goes with the rest of my message and the animal cards. But our animal brothers and sisters are powerful allies that reveal themselves to us in important times of change to offer their wisdom, love, and support. Animals are beautiful in their straightforward simplicity. They are direct and goalless in all their affairs. They eat when they are hungry, defend themselves when attacked, and are always full of adoration. If an animal crosses your path in a thought, dream, or in the real world, it is bringing a message to you from your Creator. Pay close attention to the four-legged or winged ones, because they are conduits of love. They are here to show us how love is expressing itself in our current situations. Look to the traits of the animal spirit at hand to decipher their messages. So again, just to kind of reiterate, the two animal cards I drew were frog and hippopotamus. Okay, so 15. So 15 is actually the earth element. Nature, nurture, growth, stability, commitment, fundamental, relationship, and family. The element of earth is comprised of how we plant, nurture, and watch our seeds grow. It is the cool depth of perception we cultivate to support our desires and choices. The earth contains many properties, metals of all kinds, minerals, and water. The perfect combination of ingredients in the right measure is the foundation of growth. At the moment, what is burgeoning you in your life? Is it happiness, a project, a relationship, personal wealth, fulfillment of needs of others? Take stock of the ingredients you possess and the ones you need in order to realize your creations. Try different combinations to see what works best. Don't worry about wasting time. It's best spent honoring what you have and collecting or cultivating what you don't. I honestly think that was pretty self-explanatory, but just to kind of expand on it, really, we all have the tools that we need, even if we don't think we do. It's just we have to learn forms of detachment to detach from these negative things and let them arise as they come, but not to hold on to them. You know, that is a very valuable tool that will serve you very, very well in life, you know. And I know it's hard for people who are having money issues or having home or job issues or having all kinds of issues in their lives. But speaking from experience as a person who's had to walk the, or I guess walk the talk, so to speak. I don't know if that's the right way to say that. But I'm here now. I've gone through other situations where I didn't think I would, or I didn't think I could. I didn't see a way out, but it was always made. And it wasn't always the way I wanted it to be, but I'm here now, and I can definitely say that because I cultivated forms of meditation, of compassion, of love, of honesty and integrity, and art, and using these tools such as aromatherapy, color therapy, healing, writing, journaling, and all these things, it made it a lot easier for me to move into more positive situations into my life. Even when it seemed like life just wanted to keep bringing me down, I refused to create those negative karmic seeds or traces because I knew they would just keep coming back in my life the more I fed into them. So really, I really think this message is you have these tools at your disposal, because when it comes down to it, it's the simple things that are the most important. It's how you choose to express your emotions and let them flow through you that's going to make a difference. You know, it's not about having all the money in the world or having everything perfect or having who you thought was the love of your life and all that. People come and they go. One toxic thing that I do want to bring up that I see a lot in the spiritual community is all about twin flames and all that stuff. And it seems to me what ends up happening is it becomes an excuse to stay in abusive relationships or toxic situations with people who, if you didn't think they were twin flame, you never would have gave the time of day. You know, you need to be your own twin flame. You need to be the one that loves yourself the most. Because there's nothing worse in life than going through it than you don't even really love yourself. That's a shame, and that's being in the hell realm. You know, I personally speaking, I love myself. I love my flaws. I love who I am. I don't use my love as an excuse to not change and grow, but I use my love to empower my life, and it's made a huge difference for myself, you know. When you look at a lot of successful people, they have the same thing. I mean, the real successful people, not the ones who have money but are miserable, but the ones who seem to have it all, have the love, have the family, have the friendships, and just life is going good for them. They love themselves, you know. And if you're not the best person right now, or you're not a good person at all, you know, that's going to be tough. You're going to have to come to terms with what you've done and how you've been and how you've treated others. That doesn't mean you can't eventually love yourself, but if you're one of those people who've been very toxic and evil and wicked, you got a lot of changing to do, you know, because unfortunately for you, your love more than likely is going to be narcissistic. And I've said this before, but narcissism is just the devil's attempt at copying an empath or empathy. All right. So other than that, I do feel called, I think, let's see. I don't know. Let me see this. I'm going to go with my Mystical Shaman Oracle deck. I actually just realized I have to go grab the booklet, so I will be right back. Alright, sorry about that. What messages do you have for us, oh mystical shaman? Speak to us. Speak to our spirits. Flow. Alright, so flow, the essence. There is a natural movement of events in the world. You can see it in phenomena such as the tide, the ebb and flow of oceans and rivers that rise up from the earth, then flow to the sea. The simple flow represents the effortless and natural movement toward a certain destination. It signifies an ability to gracefully move around obstacles and reminds you of the sense of allowing. When flow comes to visit, it is a sign that your intentions have been in motion. Now is the time to allow nature to run its course. You're being called to effortless movements in the path of least resistance. It's like being within music, flowing within partnership. Think of an artist who creates with a guile or craft, or without a guile or craft, calling creativity up from the soul and bringing it to life without effort. You're called to be like a river, knowing the fulfillment of destiny is assured. Enjoy the ride. And that really goes back to what I was saying about when you see these successful people, truly successful people who are happy in their lives and seem to have everything going from them. They found a way to get into their natural flow of things. They're not fighting life. They're not trying to force things to happen. There's a book, I can't remember the author of it, but it's called Power versus Force. And it's one I suggest for anyone who's really dealing with trying to get into a flow compared to trying to control everything. Because when it really comes down to it, controlling can be very narcissistic in nature. You know, because it's hard for narcissists to let things flow and control. They have to have everything the way they want it, or all hell breaks loose. You know, they try to control people, they try to control situations, they try to control the narrative, they even try to control other people's perceptions with anything they can. They don't care as long as they have that control. So really, detachment and letting things arise and flow as they come is going to be extremely important for you. And it goes back to, like I said before, I know I'm repeating myself, but really just letting things flow and detachment and the simple things is going to be your best bet. If you can make it as mystical and as spiritual as you want, but it's the simplicity of these things that's going to make or break you, or make a difference in your life. All right. I feel called for another animal card, and then I think we should be good. Is there any other animals that have a message for us? Arcana. It's a snake. Interesting. You will be shedding old skin and emotions and transforming them into something bigger and better. Change is in the mind, and you are at the center of it all as a catalyst. To smoothen the process, make sure that your intentions are clear and that you move forward with hope. And what popped into my mind as I was reading this is when a snake sheds its skin, it doesn't force it to happen. It may do things to help get that skin off of it, but it's a natural process that happens regardless. The snake doesn't just decide that I'm shedding now and it's going to happen right now. It doesn't do that. It knows it's a process and it happens naturally. So this message could also be to try not to force anything and to try to let things arise naturally in your life. And I actually do feel call for one more Oracle, or Mystic Shaman Oracle card, and then that will be it. Fire. Looks like fire came back out. 19. Fire consumes anything that it touches. The flames remind us of the impermanent nature of reality and how situations can quickly transform into beauty or chaos. Fire is a passion, and its dancing flame invites us to reach the sky. Warmth and light are heavenly, yet too much heat can scorch us. To fully step into the energy of fire is to be utterly transformed like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Warm your hands and your heart by your inner fire. Let it burn away your hardships. Let it consume your pain and sorrow. Has life become too rigid, too cold, or too superficial? Light a candle or make a bonfire and toss into the flames everything that has become stiff and painful. Give it all to fire for rapid transformation and set your life on fire. All right. So, maybe you want to do a ritual that use a bonfire. Write down what you're feeling. If you have any items from a past lover you want to get rid of, or any items that have a negative charge because they're from a negative situation, to get rid of it, you can definitely burn it. You can throw it into the ocean, which I'm not telling you to go pollute the waters. Be very careful with that, because we're stewards of the land and we need to take care of it. But find a way to release whatever is holding you back or keeping you tied to negative situations or emotions. And that is it. That is the message. I hope this message helped you guys. I'm going to be trying to do more videos more often, but I have my own flow and my own stuff going on in my life right now that I'm working on taking care of. So when I'm called to, I'll definitely do more readings, but I'm not going to be forcing anything. It's more important to me to stay into my flow and my own situations in life than it is to try to force everything and just put out message after message after message. So that being said, I'm going to finish with a little prayer, and then that'll be it. Oh, Great Spirit, I ask that you bless those who truly need it that are watching this video. Not the ones who are narcissists, but the ones that are in these situations where they can use detachment. Show them how to detach and let these emotions rise and fade like the tides in the ocean. Show them that nothing is permanent in this life and that we can choose how we react to our situations, but show them that it's not about blatantly deceiving ourselves and only focusing on the positive as much as it is being aware and choosing how we react to what we're aware of. I pray that we find the strength we need to move forward into our lives into more positive manifestations, into higher realms of the gods and the devas, into love, peace, and light and happiness. That you help us rise out of the ashes like phoenixes into our new rebirth. Amen. All right, you guys have a nice night.